Sea turtles were hunted to near extinction, turned into soup cans and hair combs, and left with so few nesting females that scientists feared they'd never recover. And yet, this is one of the greatest conservation comebacks in modern history. Today, Florida's beaches are absolutely crawling with them. In 2023 alone, the state recorded over 133,000 loggerhead nests and more than 76,000 green turtle nests, both all-time records. And 2026 is already on pace to shatter those numbers again. This comeback almost didn't happen. When a Spanish chronicler traveling with Christopher Columbus sailed along Cuba in the 1490s, he wrote that the sea was thick with turtles, so numerous that it seemed the ships would run aground on them. That's how abundant these animals once were. Hundreds of millions of them filled the Atlantic, the Caribbean, and the Gulf of Mexico. By the late 1800s, Florida's green turtle populations had crashed. Fishermen had caught so many that the species simply couldn't sustain itself. Green turtles were hauled from the ocean by the thousands, cooked and canned for turtle consommé. Hawksbill turtles were slaughtered for their shells, carved into eyeglasses, jewelry, and hair combs. By the mid-20th century, sea turtles were heading toward oblivion, and almost nobody was paying attention. Almost nobody. One man noticed, and he changed everything. His name was Archie Carr. Born in 1909, Archibald Fairley Carr Jr. became a professor of zoology at the University of Florida, and over the course of his career, the world's leading authority on sea turtles. He published his first paper on them in 1942. By 1956, his book, The Windward Road, sounded the alarm about collapsing turtle populations worldwide. He wrote 11 books and over 120 scientific articles before his death in 1987, and he didn't just study these animals. He fought for them. He co-founded what is now known as the Sea Turtle Conservancy, originally called the Caribbean Conservation Corporation, establishing one of the world's first and longest-running sea turtle research programs at Tortuguero, Costa Rica, a remote nesting beach that Carr helped turn into a global symbol of what protection could achieve. He's now universally recognized as the father of sea turtle conservation, and World Sea Turtle Day is celebrated on June 16th, his birthday. But here's the thing about conservation. One brilliant scientist raising the alarm isn't enough. You need laws, you need enforcement, and you need an entire system to change. In 1973, two critical things happened. Congress passed the Endangered Species Act, and Florida banned commercial turtle hunting. That same year, the international community ratified CITES, the Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species, which closed the global commercial market for turtle shells, turtle products, and turtle eggs. Together, the ESA and CITES formed the legal backbone of the recovery. Green sea turtles received federal protection under the ESA in 1978. These weren't symbolic gestures. The ESA has shielded more than 99.5% of species under its care from extinction since it was enacted. It has teeth. Protection on land was only half the battle, though. Out in the ocean, sea turtles were dying by the thousands in shrimp trawl nets. Between 1978 and 1980, an estimated 47,000 turtles were caught annually in those nets, with more than 12,000 killed. Turtles would get trapped underwater, unable to surface for air, and drown. That's where one of the most underrated conservation tools in history enters the picture. Sea turtles were hunted to near extinction, turned into soup cans and hair combs, and left with so few nesting females that scientists feared they'd never recover. And yet, this is one of the greatest conservation comebacks in modern history. Today, Florida's beaches are absolutely crawling with them. In 2023 alone, the state recorded over 133,000 loggerhead nests and more than 76,000 green turtle nests, both all-time records. And 2026 is already on pace to shatter those numbers again. Conservation accomplishments in history. Then came the monitoring. Florida launched its statewide nesting beach survey in 1979. The Index Nesting Beach Survey began tracking a core set of beaches in 1989. 2 years after that, the Archie Carr National Wildlife Refuge was established in Brevard County. Today, that refuge hosts more loggerhead nests per mile than anywhere else in the Western Hemisphere. Roughly 15,000 to 20,000 nests every single year. And there was one more piece of the puzzle that doesn't get talked about enough: light. Sea turtles navigate by subtle cues in the night sky. Hatchlings instinctively crawl toward the brightest horizon, which on a natural beach means the ocean reflecting starlight and moonlight. Coastal development flooded beaches with artificial light, and hatchlings started crawling toward parking lots, roads, and swimming pools instead of the sea. In 1993, Florida enacted its model lighting ordinance for marine turtle protection. Coastal communities began restricting beachfront lighting during nesting season, replacing white bulbs with amber and red wavelength lights. It sounds simple, it saved countless lives. So what happened when you combined hunting bans, the Endangered Species Act, turtle excluder devices, beach monitoring, habitat protection, and lighting ordinances? You got a miracle. In the 1980s, Florida recorded about 4,000 green turtle nests per year. By the 2010s, that number had exploded to over 230,000, from 4,000 to 230,000. That's not a modest recovery. That's a population roaring back to life. Florida now hosts more than 90% of all sea turtle nesting in the continental United States. The state averages over 103,000 loggerhead clutches per year. The UCF Marine Turtle Research Group surveys a 13-mile stretch of the Archie Carr Refuge that hosts about 1/3 of all green turtle nesting in the entire state. Data pours in from 225 monitored beaches spanning roughly 822 miles of coastline. The records keep falling. In 2025, leatherback turtles set a new statewide record with 2,012 nests. Green turtles posted their second highest season ever with over 66,000 nests. Even the Kemp's Ridley, the world's smallest and most endangered sea turtle, left behind 12 confirmed nests. As of early 2026, loggerhead nesting was already running 82% ahead of the previous year's pace. In October 2025, the IUCN officially reclassified green sea turtles from endangered to least concern globally, after more than 4 decades on the endangered list. Roderick Mast, co-chair of the IUCN's Marine Turtle Specialist Group, called it a powerful example of what coordinated global conservation over decades can achieve. There's one turtle worth mentioning by name: Emily. For 30 years, conservancy biologists on Keewaydin Island in southwest Florida were visited by the same mother loggerhead. She was first flipper tagged in 1988 and spotted 13 times since, most recently in 2019. Emily's faithful return to the same beach, decade after decade, is a reminder that these animals live 50 to 100 years and carry extraordinary loyalty to their nesting sites. This story isn't over, and it's not all celebration. Loggerhead recovery remains uncertain. Nest counts on core index beaches have swung wildly, dropping as low as 28,876 in 2007 before rebounding. Climate change is eroding nesting beaches, intensifying storms, and skewing hatchling sex ratios heavily toward females as sand temperatures rise. Beach renourishment programs, where sand is pumped onto eroded shorelines to restore nesting habitat, have become an increasingly critical and expensive part of the conservation toolkit, with their own complex trade-offs for nest success rates. In 2024, hurricanes Debbie, Helene, and Milton washed away countless nests across the state. Green turtles also face a persistent biological threat in fibropapillomatosis, a disease that causes debilitating tumors and has become more prevalent as water temperatures rise, adding another layer of urgency to the climate challenge. Miami-Dade County still doesn't have a county-wide lighting ordinance, and as Brendan Godley, a turtle expert at the University of Exeter, cautioned, green turtles might best be considered conservation-dependent, meaning if protections were removed, populations could quickly decline again. Only about 1 in every 400 to 2,000 hatchlings survives to adulthood. Every single nest matters. So what does this story actually tell us? It tells us that conservation works, not quickly, not easily, and not without decades of tedious monitoring, political battles, and unglamorous engineering solutions like metal grids and shrimp nets. But it works. 50 years ago, these animals were disappearing. Today, Florida's beaches are so full of nesting sea turtles that scientists are running out of superlatives for the data. Archie Carr died in 1987, the same year turtle excluder devices became law. He never saw the green turtle downlisted. He never saw 133,000 loggerhead nests in a single season. But every one of those nests exists in part because one zoologist in Florida decided the world should care about sea turtles, and then spent his entire life making sure it did. The turtles are back, the work isn't done, but the beaches are full, and that is worth celebrating.